me, Asa, and welcome back to welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are going to be talking about consecration, what it is, ways to do it, and a lot more. So if you would like to learn about that, then continue on watching. Now, of course, we need to define what consecration is. So, consecration essentially is the act of blessing something as sacred for either your religious or your magical practices. Now that something essentially is either a tool or a space or anything in between. Consecration is performed after purification. Now this is because you want to purify the the unwanted energy from that thing that you wish to consecrate. Now by unwanted energy, essentially I mean any negative energy, any stagnant energy from the previous owners, or essentially any non-beneficial energy. Right now, if you do not cleanse or purify, now I should say that I am going to be using cleansing and purifying extremely interchangeably. Now, as I was saying, if you do not purify your tool or your space prior to consecrating it, then the energy that thing has accumulated will pretty much interfere with the energy that you are trying to work with and attune to. Now, we know that not everybody's craft is the same. We know that everybody practices differently. So some people, instead of purifying prior to consecrating, what they do is that they basically cleanse and consecrate at the same time by stating so in their incantation or in their prayer. But what's important to know is that for the most part, consecration automatically also implies purification, whether before, during, doesn't matter. It really depends on the person and their own practice. Now, overall, what's important to know about consecrating something is that once something has been consecrated, it is no longer the mundane thing that it was before its consecration. So a stick is no longer a stick. After it's consecrated, it is, for the most part I guess, your wand. The butter knife is no longer a butter knife. It's, I guess, in this case it would be either your athame or your bowline, your rock with a pentacle drawing is going to be essentially your pentacle. The candle is no longer just any random candle. It is going to be a candle that is either for your magical uses, or is going to be your devotional candle, whether for ancestors, a deity, or any other spirit. Now, with all of that being said, I should also mention that the practice of consecration is something that not everybody agrees with, because some say that sacredness is pretty much given subconsciously by the practitioner's attitude towards that one, tool or space, right? Others, on the other hand, say that it's simply not needed because doing so may pretty much disrupt the natural energy flow of it. Again, it being the tool or the space. Now, this pretty much brings a discussion of whether or not you should consecrate the space when you're out in nature. Should you not? Why? That pretty much depends on the person. So essentially, when it comes to consecration, use your judgment and your own, current knowledge in the situation. Now, consecration holds three basic purposes. The first one is the psychological. The psychological refers to the change of attitude and confidence that the tool or the space gives the practitioner. So let's go back to the example of the stick. Once you have consecrated that stick, you already know that it's no longer just your mundane random stick. It is your wand. So when you are using it, the way that you are treating that and using that wand is essentially going to be completely different than the way that you would use a random stick. The respect that you have towards it is going to be different. Just overall, your attitude towards that tool that you have consecrated, and even the space, because once you enter this space, you know that you're no longer in your random bedroom, in your random living room. You are in this one particular room in the house, as an example, that is sacred. So what you do in this bedroom or in this living room or in this whatever is essentially going to be completely different than what you would normally do in another space that is similar but hasn't been consecrated. Did that make sense? I think it did. Hopefully it did. Now for the second purpose is the spiritual. By spiritual, essentially refers to how everything holds an energetic body, and it being able to be altered allows the practitioner to pretty much give it a purpose. So let's go back to the example of the wand, the stick. So you know that the stick, after it's been consecrated, you have made it sacred. But also you're going to be giving it a purpose. This is no longer just a random stick. This is a wand. You gave it a purpose that is not only going to be dictated based on what you said and the consecration, but also the use that you're going to be giving the wand. The third purpose is the devotional. Essentially refers to dedicating the tool or the space to either a deity or a spirit. So simple. When it comes to this, it's pretty much inferred, assumed that you're talking about statues, you're talking about images, candles, or like I said, spaces of worship. So let's say that you want to consecrate a room in your house, an empty room in your house, right? This is the room in your house where you will pretty much do everything that is magical, everything that's religious or whatever maybe. This is your church. Let's talk about candles. When you are, let's say, using a candle for dedicating it to a deity or a spirit or even your ancestors, you want to consecrate it. This is because you want to pretty much, again, remove the negative energies that it has had before, but also make it sacred and dedicate it to a particular use. You're telling it, hey, you are for this purpose and you are useful to me in this way. So you pretty much performing a consecration ritual on this candle, statue, or whatever it may be is pretty much you making it and dedicating it, should I say, for the spirit or deity that you are pretty much wanting to work with. Now, there are many ways on how to consecrate your tools or your space. Now, I am not going to be talking about how to do it in this video. I'm only going to tell you the ways that you can choose to consecrate your tools or your space. So now we know that everything in the craft can be as short and simple as you want, or as long and detailed as you wish, right? Truly depends on what you want it to be. Now, by that I mean that some people choose to perform a magic circle. Some people choose to cast a magic circle prior to actually holding their consecration ritual. You perform the sacred circle and then you do the ritual inside of that circle. I currently do not have a video where I talk about magical circles, but I will in the future. Now, to consecrate a tool or a space, you can use your voice. So prayer may be recited over the tool or a space, and ask a deity to pretty much give it a blessing, to remove the energy, to bless it, to make it sacred, so that you may use it for this and this and this. Another thing that you may use is anointing oil. So a blessing oil, consecrating oil, whatever oil that you have bought that has the consecration energy of, right? So essentially, you do the thing, like you either put some on your hand or on your finger, and then you either bloop or just rub it, and bada bing bada boom, you can say a prayer. Remember, words have power, but some people choose not to give a prayer. Honestly, truly depends on you and your own practice. Another thing that some people use work with are the elements. So essentially think of you blessing that thing in the presence of not only the elements, earth, air, fire, and water, but also in the presence of the four directions. Now, this is when you would include, the according direction with that one particular element. So, for example, north, earth, east would be air, south, fire, west, water. So, in your incantation or your prayer and in what you're doing, you would pretty much mention the direction in which that element is pretty much corresponding to. Actually, in the video, I'm going to show you in detail what I'm talking about, so I'm not going to go too much into detail, but essentially, you're doing that. You're working with the elements, but not only just the elements, but for the most part, also the direction in which that element is corresponding to. And the last thing that you could use in order to consecrate something is water. So basically, you could use any form of holy water, whether it be moon water, which I have a video about that you can see up there, where I pretty much explain what it is, how to do so, like how to perform, like, you know, a little ritual in order to get moon water. And I also go a lot into detail about the moon phases and like how to work with them. So if you would like to learn about that, you know, click on the little bubble that will appear up there. But essentially, if you do not want to make moon water, you can use literally like holy water from your church, and you could perform the rite that's called asperging, which is essentially like, you know, grabbing the water and like doing like the sprinkling, or just do the thing where you do like the blah blah blah, you know, like sprinkling the water. But essentially that. Now that all of that has been said, I want to do a little recap. So consecration. Consecration is the act of blessing something as sacred, again, something being a tool or a space for either your magical or religious practices. Consecration implies the purification of unwanted energy, whether before or during, really depends on the person and their better judgment. Right now, consecration holds three basic purposes, which are psychological, spiritual, and the devotional. And lastly, but certainly not the least, there are many ways on how to consecrate your tool or the space. It truly depends on what you're consecrating, and by that I mean that you will not want to use water if you are using a form of paper or anything that will pretty much be damaged by that. You also do not want to use fire when it comes to when it comes to paper, because it is most likely going to be burned. The, I guess, loophole or the like thing that you could do is not put it close, but rather higher, so that like the, like, I guess the heat or the energy that is going up from the flame touches it, but not enough so that the paper actually becomes damaged and pretty much gets, you know, in fire, right? So yeah, that would be all for this video. Now I am going to be making 2 more videos, one where I will show you guys how to perform a consecration ritual of any magical tool, and the other one of how to consecrate a statue or anything in particular for your religious or magical practices. And yes, I really do hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any questions, by all means, do not be shy to leave a comment below. I love when you guys leave comments. It really is very uplifting. It literally motivates me and inspires me to do even more. And yeah, honestly, if you guys have any questions, any comments that you guys would like to make about, is there something I missed? Is there something that you want to add? Be sure to leave them down below. I love reading your comments, and I'm not even joking, like, deadass. And don't forget to leave a like, and yeah, I'm gonna do the outro. So if you guys like the video, be sure to leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I shall see you guys later.
You made me feel so much better.